Welcome, everybody, to Thursdays, Spiritual Matters Thursdays here at the Daily Huddle. I am your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando, and we continue with our series today, this part 2 of the 8 archetypes in manifestation, 8 seasons in manifesting your dream life. I am so excited to share this with you because as we are moving from late summer into early fall, this is just the time. This is just the time to really get clear on what this new season brings. People are sending their children back to school, and we're kind of like, okay, all right, summer's almost over. One last hurrah, and let's get it cracking. So let's talk about using the seasons of manifestation to really set yourself up, not only for the next year and beyond, but for your own center, your own season of planning. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. Oh my gosh, I must have been a drummer in another life, because every time I hear drums, it's like something quickens inside of me. I don't know if it happens to you the same. So let's get grounded in this now moment. Rashida, where are you? And what are you thankful for?
Good morning, my family Daily Huddle. I am where I say I am. I am right here. And what I'm thankful for? I'm thankful for life itself and sight, that I see the sunshine every morning. I am so thankful for that.
Oh, you kind of kicked a little musical Tourette's in my head, because when you said sunshine, I was like, you are the sunshine of my life. Awesome, thank you. And Stan, welcome, my friend. How are you? And who are you hugging today? I'm always asking you who you're gonna hug.
Today I am creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got some things I'm gonna be creating today. And I'm gonna hug my beautiful wife. Yeah, nice big solid hug too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
tight. Like, I'm here and so are you.
That's
I
right.
love those hugs, yes. That's lovely. I am excited to be here with you today because we are going into part 2 of the 8 seasons of manifestation. We're going to get into the 8 archetypes of manifestation later, so that you can see the correlation and the aspect of yourself that you get to call forth as you move through your own manifestations. So last week, we talked about the feminine aspect of manifestation, the internal, the ones that go within. So what I told you last time was, if you can imagine a clock, at the 12 o'clock position is summer solstice, or the highest potency of the sun. And then at the 6 o'clock position is winter solstice, and it is the lowest potency of the sun. And then you have at the 3 and the 9 o'clock, it's equidistant, right, from the north and the south. And so that's why it's called the equinoxes. The fall equinox is where it falls into its weakest, and the spring equinox is where it springs forward into the highest. So we have an organizational structure for our manifestations, and we talked about the planning, that's the beginning, the planning season, which, if you're taking the year, let's assume 360 days, because there's 360 degrees in a circle. If you're taking the year, assume from the fall equinox, September 21st, to November 4th would be the planning season. And then from November 5th to the winter solstice would be the planting season. So planning seasons where you get really clear about what the objective is. We have to first know what we're going for. And then the planting season is when you imbue it with your emotional intensity, with your affirmations, with your, really being committed to the unfolding of that objective of that goal. It's working with your subconscious a lot. Some of you already listen to affirmations. Some of you already go to sleep with binaural beats and so forth. So that's the season to really, really kick that up. And then from the winter solstice, December 21st, to late fall, February 4th, that is the gathering season. Excuse me, that is the clearing season, So the clearing season, everything is barren and the surface. It looks like nothing is happening. If you look around in the northern hemisphere where there are places of that experience winter, like I grew up in New England, for example, and so there's snow on the ground, the trees are bare, it's cold, nobody wants to be outside. At least I didn't want to be outside. Lord have mercy, with my Caribbean soul, I was like, oh, please take me out of here. Even when I lived in Miami for many years, I was like, 60-degree weather, perish the thought. And so you want to see how nature aligns with those manifestation cycles, because that time when it's barren, it's time for rest. It's time to sit still. In fact, the sun sits still at the winter solstice, yeah? And so that time of clearing is the time to take out all the little weeds and all the things that don't work about your mindset in your manifestation. Instead of having affirmations, have denials, have clearing statements. I clear all the ways in which I don't believe in myself. I clear all the ways in which I withhold my power. I clear all the ways in which I don't trust my own word, or I don't follow through on my own word. I clear all the ways in which I let my anger get the best of me. I clear all the ways, and so forth. So whatever comes up that's like these things might be in the way of a successful manifestation of your goal or your objective, clear it from your mind, clear it from the way, remove it, declutter your space, etc. By the time that you get to spring cleaning, it's too late. It's too late. We're done with the clearing phase. So do that during the winter time and enjoy some rest. I want you to notice, if you look at nature's pacing, the winter time is when nature, at least in the northern hemisphere, okay, if you're in the southern hemisphere, obviously flip this around, it's the opposite for you. But in the northern hemisphere, in the winter time, things are just still. There's not much movement, right? Like even the air kind of like hangs. It's almost like, everything is cold, everything smooth, slow, et cetera, et cetera. Good morning, Kurt. And it's an opportunity for you to rest, for you to hibernate, for you to go within. And in the summer, when the sun is at its highest, it's like summertime, time to go to the beach, go boating, enjoy this, enjoy that. There's high activity in the summer, low activity in the winter. But society has it differently. Society goes, no, go on vacation and rest in the summer. And in the wintertime, listen, as soon as the kids go back to school, it's like one holiday after the other. It's one bake sale after another. It's a field trip after another. It's cookies and cakes and sugar them up. And it's like when you're supposed to be at the clearest, it's when they shove more stuff into your calendar, more stuff into your system, more parties, more stimulus, more this, more that. It's like, what are you trying to keep me away from? What are you trying to distract me from? That's where I go. That's where my mind goes. Like, when you look at movement, like, I don't want to see what your front hand is doing. I want to see what your back hand is doing. And so that's the clearing phase from December 21st, the winter solstice, to February 4th. And then from February 5th to the spring equinox, March 21st or March 20th. That's the gathering phase, right? So if we're looking at a clock, I just took you from the 3 o'clock position down to 6, back to 9. So this is the lower half of the circle, right? That's what we talked about last week. So now let's talk about the upper part of the circle. The ones that is, if this is the horizon, this is what's visible. This is the sun coming out, right? So spring is March 21st to May 4th. That 45-day cycle is the visionary cycle. So we've moved from the clearing phase, the gathering phase is when you start getting ideas, when you start downloading, brainstorming, what are my resources, who can I call? You're gathering all of your resources and ingredients for that manifestation. And the visionary phase from March 21st to May 4th is putting them all together, seeing how they all fit. You're seeing, right, the visionary phase, how these pieces can go together. And from May 5th to June 20th, right? So this is now the second half of that piece of the pie. So we're going into the summer solstice now. That is the leading phase. Leading phase. And the leading phase, imagine a CEO who has the vision already, who has the objective in mind, and then he's just, or she is just telling people what to do, putting the places and people in places in order, delegating projects and managing and making sure that things are moving along. That's the leading phase. So things are already in motion, right? Things are already moving, and the leader, the king, the CEO, the masculine aspect of executive powers is making sure that those things are in order. If you can imagine in a government, the king or the president declares war, but the soldiers go to battle, which brings me to the next phase. The next phase begins at the 12 o'clock position, June 21st, all the way to August 4th. And from June 21st to August 4th, we're in the soldier phase. That's the doing phase. That's the get her done. It's not time to think about it. It's not time to strategize. We don't have to litigate this objective. It's time to do. It's time to execute. It's time to make the call, write the paper, send the invitations. You know, it's like getting it done, right? That's the doing phase. And then we'll come back all the way around from August 5th to September 20th, which is the phase that we're in now. That is called the using phase. And that's when you actually collect the harvest. It's when you see the results of all of your hard work, right? You've planted it, you've cleared it, you've gathered, you've visualized, you've gotten things done, you've executed, and now it's time to bask in your results. And if you notice, the first half of that circle from the 3 o'clock position to the 9 o'clock position are below the horizon. They are internal, and they are also feminine. Because they are internal, the feminine, its deepest power is in internality. And then from the 9 o'clock position back to the 3 o'clock position, if this is the horizon, then this would be where the sun is visible. And that is the masculine aspect of manifestation. And it is externally driven. It's about action, it's about doing, it's about moving things along in the external world, just like you moved it along in the internal world when you were working with your mind and with your heart and so forth. Part of the reason why, I mean, obviously this is far more nuanced conversation, but part of the reason why we have grown up in a culture that thinks that masculine is better or higher than the feminine is because the feminine is down here and the masculine is up here. And we think that whatever's on top is better. That's not what that is. Just like the porch, if you're looking at a house, the porch, just because it's visible and it's the first thing that people see, that doesn't mean that that's the best part of the house. Some people would think the kitchen or the basement or the bedroom are the best parts of the house. Or maybe the back porch is the best part of the house, right? But because it's visible, it's the thing of the house that we interact with the most. And so it is with this culture, because we see the action, we interact with that. And we think that that's where the juice is at. And by the time that you see action, the objective is viable already. It's kind of like getting pregnant and birthing a baby. By the time that you see a baby bump, that baby can exist outside the womb. The hard work is over, right? Now it's just a matter of making sure that it's coming to completion and fruition. So those are the 8 seasons. Those are the 8 cycles of manifestation, and it sounds kind of linear, right? From this date to that date and from this date to that date. But we all know that we move extemporaneously. We have different timelines, different deadlines, different objectives for different things. And if you have any kind of experience cooking, then you know, for example, that in those 4 eyes of the stove, certain things cook faster than others, right? So I wouldn't make the salad first if I were making a 4-course meal. I would cook the meat first, and then the rice, and then and the beans would be soaking overnight, and that kind of thing, right? So different things have a different pace of manifestation. And so you also want to be clear about your goals. There are certain things that you can handle within the week. And then there are certain things that's going to take a little bit longer. Maybe they're a quarterly project, or maybe that's an annual thing, or whatever the case may be. But at least when you know what those phases are, you won't get surprised or frustrated when you don't see the results or don't see the manifestation that you think you ought to see. It's kind of like wanting summer, but it's December. And if you walk out of your door with beach sandals and a tank top on, that cold blast is going to hit you and you're going to be upset and catch something. But that's not because the tank top is wrong. It's just not the season for that, right? And so in the same way with your goals, with your objectives, sometimes you think that you ought to see the fruition of something, but it's not summer yet in terms of the manifestation of your goal. You still have some winter to go through. And sometimes we get frustrated because in the wintertime, we don't see anything externally, but that just means it's cooking inside, right? And so I want to open it up for questions to see, where are you with this process? Does it make sense to you? Do you have questions about it? Do you have frustrations and vents, or maybe an aha and a breakthrough about it? Let's massage this together. So who has something for me that you want to bring to the table? Maybe a question or comment while I chew on some pineapple chunks. I dropped it. Yes, Chase.
Grand Rising, Dr. Ogando.
Grand Rising, my friend.
Great to see you, by the way. Great to be in your presence. Thank you so much for bringing your energy. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks. I'm just mad we sang together. I was too shy.
Next time. Next time. That'd be awesome. So in this particular season, and you explained them so well, thank you. I really have a new perspective about the whole thing now. It's really interesting how that happens. Mm-hmm. What do you think is in this particular time, in this particular frame, what do you think is the most, I'm trying to say this the right way. What is the thing during this time that you would say is most overlooked, or that we miss the most, that we can concentrate on this time to have a more fluid forward motion?
In this time, meaning because it just happens to be August? Or do you mean like in this time of manifestation of your particular goals? Or what?
Right. In this time of manifestation, like in the particular, like what would be your kind of suggestion to the masses that, okay, during this time, this is kind of what we miss. This is
like the collective. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but the world is on fire.
Yeah.
And that comes from, in a really reductive way. I'm sure, I know we don't have time to go into it right now, but in a really reductive way, that comes from us forcing things when they're out of season, wanting things when it's not their time, and forcing it anyways because we have that creative power. And so it begs the question, what in your life, what in your relationships, what in your money, what in your health is out of order because you've wanted something sooner than what it was time for, or because you've forced something to happen because you thought you ought to have it, and so forth? What clues have you missed about the natural flow of your life that would tell you to wait, or tell you to hurry up, or tell you it's time now, go, and you hesitated? right? And so the world being on fire is not a time for fear. It's not a time to withdraw. It's not a time to put your head in the sand. It's the time to take some notes. And it's a time to be present and to, with your own groundedness and with your own presence, to bring the flames down, right? We put it out with our own acceptance and nurture nature, just like water puts out fire. And so that's what I would say to the collective is, let's go within and see how is this a reflection of our inner world? And as we're going and approaching the fall equinox in a few weeks, then it's time to, in the using phase, it's time to speak, it's time to brag, it's time to declare, and celebrate, here's my harvest, here's what I created. Even if it's not the harvest you were expecting, even if it's not the harvest that you desired, but you have a harvest. Some people say, oh, I don't have results. No, you have results, you just don't like them. Those were not the results you were intending, perhaps, but you have results. There's no such thing as I'm not manifesting. And it's a time then for introspection of saying, okay, this is what I have. Now, so what? Now what? What's next? That's what I would say.
Thank you. And I appreciate you saying all that stuff. I just want to say one thing before I move away.
Sure.
It's interesting. I always like to tell people about these little manifestation tidbits that happen when you ask and you're paying attention.
Yeah.
And just recently, a client asked me to perform at a function, and I saw them out in the world. They didn't call me. They saw me performing. Someone said, oh my God, we got to call you. We want you to da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. We'll get together. And 2 days before that, I was at a place in New York City called Hudson Yards, walking around. I was like, this place is amazing. I want to have dinner here one night. I want to do this. This is really where I want to go.
Yeah.
They called me day before yesterday, and said, hey, we want to wrap this up, give you a deposit, do what we're going to do. Let's meet at Hudson Yards. We'll have dinner there. And I was like, whoa. And I looked at the text and I said, hey, so everybody, don't forget to ask. Don't forget to make it happen, because when you see it, I think it happens almost every time.
So
it's crazy.
Sweet like that, right? Like, let yourself be surprised by those seen and unseen forces conspiring in your favor.
Oh, so beautiful. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Great question. Who else has something? Question, comment, breakthrough, aha moment?
Aha moment.
Good. Rashida.
Oh, I'm telling you, I am so happy and so delighted that I sit and listen. I have taken away so much this morning. Thank you so much for educating me. Thank you so much for giving me some nugget that I can put in my bucket and really know where I stand.
Nice.
What it's amazing. It's like, okay, I am a queen. I don't care what anyone wants to say.
Come through. That's exactly right.
I'm a queen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is a confirmation from you, Dr. Ogando. Thank you so much. And I will definitely, I've been knowing that I'm a queen, but now after this lecture, I'm walking every step of the way with my crown on. Thank you so much.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, fantastic. Good. Who else has something? Who else has something? Boom, 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 boom. That's it. We're done for today. We can be done. I don't mean to hold you. I want to say, for those of you who missed it, that we had the Daily Huddle event last weekend, and it was beyond. We had music, we had jokey jokes, we've developed our own daily, we already had it, right? Our own Daily Huddle language, as it were. You've heard, if you're new here and people say, how are you? We don't say fine, right? We say, I am the way that I say I am. And then you declare the way that you say that you are, right? And there's a powerful thing that happens when human beings get together and create and co-create culture. And this is what happens when you have your own language, when you have your own way of being, when you show up a certain place and time. and you have certain rituals, such as getting grounded in each one of our episodes, the ways that we begin, the ways that we end, all of those things are rituals. And when you begin to ritualize your life, right? Like you have a morning routine, you may have a nighttime routine, you may have a way that you start work, you finish work, that you go to work, that you drive, that you pick up your kids, maybe a bedtime routine, et cetera, et cetera. When you begin to ritualize your life in that way, you insert meaning, significance, importance, and intention to those pieces of your life that you ritualize. And then you begin to kind of like dance in its own rhythm, dance in its own flow. And life is sweeter when you imbue it with intention so much that it's like, you know, the river just flows because the river flows. You don't have to force anything, right? And so that's the whole premise of, I love that book, Do Less, Achieve More is the title of that book. And that's the whole premise of it, that when you imbue it with intention, that's the power of that, those feminine phases. You know, by the time that you get to the masculine phases of execution, you don't have to white knuckle your way up the mountain. You actually could just move, execute, and it's free flowing because it's been studied and has a strong foundation. So next week, we're going to go into part 3. And then the week after that, the final part, part 4. So we've just talked about the 8 seasons of manifestation. Now, next week, we're going to start the 8 archetypes of your manifestation, because each one of those seasons is ruled or presenced by a particular archetype. And every single human being, whether you are a man or a woman, you have internally, energetically, you have feminine archetypes and masculine archetypes. Some of us, just like you have a right hand and a left hand, some of us are a righty, some of us are a lefty. You may be more feminine energy dominant or masculine energy dominant. That's the one that's most celebrated in this culture. But when you understand that you have both hands, as it were, energetically, then you can grab more, you can love more, right? You can release more. And so we want to get into the archetypes so that you know how to use that energy. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up next week. In the meantime, make sure that you love, laugh, eat more plant-based, stress less, exercise, move your tail feather. Make sure that you get at least 7 hours of sleep. Lord have mercy. Give of yourself, give your time, give your energy, give the benefit of the doubt. I'm talking to somebody today. And then, of course, always check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always audit your assumptions. We will see you next time. Have the great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ogando. Thank you.
One love, guys. One love.
Love.